Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Russ Riesinger.
And I'm Janelle Slade. Another suspect now charged in connection with the death of a 12-year-old West Yellowstone boy.
More evidence revealed today in court driving home this disturbing crime. MTN's Cody Boyer has details.
It's a disturbing case that has rocked the small community here along Buffalo Drive and in West Yellowstone. Now, this new arrest, 18-year-old Gage Roush, investigators say he was involved in one of the videos hitting young 12-year-old James Alexander Hurley.
You know, once I found out, I'm like, oh my God. It's a punch in my stomach, you know.
18-year-old Gage Roush stood quietly in Gallatin County Justice Court charged with assaulting a minor. In this case, 12-year-old James Hurley.
I knew nothing until yesterday when he got locked up.
Sitting in court was Roush's grandmother Brenda and his girlfriend Brooklyn.
He's like a gentle giant. And this is what this boggles my mind. I was blindsided.
Court documents point to Hurley's grandparents, Patricia Batts and James Sasser Jr., recording a disturbing timeline, with Hurley's 14-year-old uncle, James Sasser III, joining in. Investigators say video recordings show Hurley's family beating him with makeshift objects, locking food away from him, strangling him. Now prosecutors say there are other videos, including Roush hitting the boy.
It's unacceptable to strike or otherwise brutalize a child. There's 2 instances at least alleged from here.
Revelations that Brenda says she never saw coming.
He's the reason I get up in the morning. He's the reason for me living.
I am flabbergasted. I can't even begin to explain to you how disgusting and sick I am.
Melissa Finney lives a block away from Bat's home.
I just never saw it coming. I've known this family, like I said, for 12 years, and our kids have hung out together, and I've never, ever thought I would be standing here today in this position saying, oh my God.
Finney says she's known Roush since he was 4 years old, and James Sasser III spent time with her own son.
The abuse in a home like that and nobody knowing about it is frustrating, because when you are with them and you're around them and you see one side of them and then you come back and then you hear this and you're like, okay, they're living double lives.
As Roush's case moves next to the district court, Brenda and Brooklyn say they will stand together. But nothing will be the same.
I hope this is a turning point, and he grows up.
Roush could be looking at 40 years in prison if he's convicted, and his bail has been set to $50,000. In West Yellowstone, Cody Boyer, MTN News.
Thanks, Cody. Now, the West Yellowstone community is planning a candlelight service for James Hurley on Sunday at West Yellowstone City Park.
Well, the problem of missing and murdered Indigenous women has hit home for many people in Montana, and today some of them marched in Hardin to send a message demanding answers. Q2's Zoe Zandora was there.
Another girl found dead in Bighorn County, the family and friends of 4 of those women. Selena Not Afraid, Kaysara Stops, Bonnie 3 Irons, and Henny Scott marching in their name, holding signs, chanting and demanding justice following the recent death of 16-year-old Selena Not Afraid.
Another missing and murdered Indigenous women's march in Hardin ending on the courthouse steps with families and friends looking for answers.
We're showing that we're not done, and it's like starting to go into the back of people's minds and they're kind of forgetting. So we want to keep it going. We want to keep reminding them that it's not done. This is still happening, and it's still a problem.
So what's next? What is it they want done? What is it they want answers for?
Raise awareness and to keep these girls in the news or national news. So it's just important that they do a thorough investigation when it happens so we can have answers instead of waiting for us to march and then them give us answers.
We're going to go to D.C. and we're going to be loud. We're going to make sure that people know that we want justice.
And for Andrea Dickinson, she says it's scary.
Every time I go to leave somewhere, I text my mom, hey, I'm heading out, and I call someone so that I'm on the phone and they know where I'm at until I get safely in my car with my doors locked. And especially with those inmates escaping recently, it's been crazier, and it's such a dangerous world.
That was Zoe Zandora reporting. Organizers say they will keep fighting to get their voices heard, and they'll have another march coming up in May.
And now turning to Chief Forecaster Bob McGuire. Bob, this weekend looks pretty good in Billings, but not so much if you have to shovel the snow in Red Lodge.
A lot of folks in Red Lodge had a chance to shovel a little bit yesterday and a little bit today. Let me show you what some folks are doing. Yeah, look at that, huh? They were using the old tractor in the snowplow section on that one. Yeah, that was working. You got to do that. Look at the blue skies ahead yesterday. This came to us from Carmen DeBello, and so that's what they were doing. And it's a good thing, too, because look what's coming our way. Another storm. This is a winter storm watch for the Beartooths. Another 8 to 14 inches of snow, plus blowing and drifting snow expected in that area again. Not only there, also up around the northwestern corner of the state, up around Missoula, could see another 2 to 7 inches of snow there. 3 to 5 inches to the south end around Glacier National Park, looking for 2 to 4 inches of snow and blowing and drifting snow in that area. And guess what? All that snow there, they're going to finally start coming back down towards the south central part of the state. Billings, we're not going to get part of this, but I think it's going to be very late on Sunday. We'll have more about that in a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Bob. Well, if you thought you might have to give up your specialty license plate, you may have another chance to keep it. Just get some friends to buy the same one. Well, the state is now giving organizations falling short more time to reach a goal of 400 registered plates. The legislature passed a bill, and the Motor Vehicle Division is enforcing that threshold now. As of February 6th, 85 plates had been canceled. There are more than 250 specialty plates across Montana. Well, many nonprofit organizations use the plates as a fundraiser, charging between $20 and $75.
It's not to get rid of these organizations' fundraising abilities. It's just to encourage them to go out there and get those numbers so that with the 250 plus specialty plates that are out there, that we are administering the program in the most efficient way possible.
Sarah Garcia says organizations will have until July 1st to reach the 400 plate requirement. The Motor Vehicle Division will send a letter about that grace period next week.
Less than a month, people across Montana will begin receiving official mailers, kicking off the count in the U.S. Census.
MTN's Jonathan Ambarian looks at how the federal and state governments are making sure Montanans get counted.
Representatives for the U.S. Census Bureau say they've been preparing for this spring's census for a long time.
The census really began, it began 10 years ago, but in earnest it began about 2 years ago.
The federal government is about to begin its count, as required every 10 years by the Constitution. Starting March 12th, Montana households will begin receiving letters with detailed information on how to respond. By April, census takers will begin knocking on doors. This year, for the first time, many Americans will respond to the census online.
Ideally, with the online census, we're hoping about 67%, 2/3 of the nation takes it online. That will limit the amount of door knocking that we have to do, which will save the taxpayers a lot of money.
The Bureau has also made a large push to hire temporary census workers around Montana. They're still taking applications to fill those positions.
The hiring's been great in urban communities. It's been a little bit tougher in eastern Montana.
During last year's state legislative session, lawmakers appropriated $100,000 to inform Montanans about the census. The state is putting out public service announcements and other materials to encourage participation. Complete count committees have been formed at the state level and in communities around the state.
What we know with the census is that if people have any concerns about the census, if they can communicate about this with their neighbors and their friends, and they can be informed that way, there's much greater trust in the process.
The results of the census could have big effects on Montana over the next 10 years. Leaders estimate the state will receive about $2,000 in federal funding each year for every resident counted. The updated data will be used in planning infrastructure projects and public services, and to draw new state legislative districts. And some pre-census analysis has suggested Montana's population may have increased enough to earn a second member in the U.S. House of Representatives.
It's 10 minutes and it's 10 years. That's the simplest equation that there is.
In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
And the state is also reminding Montanans that official census materials will never ask for money, social security numbers, or credit card numbers.
Well, some good news for all of Montana. Gallatin County health officials confirmed today that a patient under quarantine who is being evaluated at Bozeman Hospital does not have the coronavirus.
All right, still to come on tonight's 5:30 News, a moving story for this Valentine's Day as one Montana man calls on his cows to show his love.
Hi everybody, Scott Breen at First Interstate Arena. Happy Valentine's Day. What better way to celebrate it, right, than, well, with a bunch of sweaty athletes here at the All-Class State Wrestling Tournament. Coming up in sports, quarterfinal action I'll show you which wrestlers are ticketed for the semis.
You're watching MTN News with Janelle Slade and Russ Riesinger, Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire, and sports with Scott Breen. This is the 5:30 news on Q2, Montana's news leader.